Let's separate the impactful from the insignificant with one simple question. News or noise?
All right, Michael, we've seen a lot of headlines coming out of these mandatory minicamp days and podium sessions with coaches and players. But what's actually news and what's just noise? We're going to start in Cleveland, where Deshaun Watson saw an increased workload on the first day of minicamp yesterday, throwing during 7-on-7 drills for the first time this spring. Watson said, quote, he's very comfortable with this spot in his recovery process from season-ending shoulder injury. Comfortable, Michael. News or noise for Deshaun Watson?
Well, I think it is news because, if he wasn't throwing in front of the media, there would be some speculation that something's wrong. I mean, look, we are in June, early June. The players who had a lot of off-season surgeries probably aren't participating. But let's face it, Daniel Jones, who we'll talk about a little bit later this segment, he's not out there throwing, and therefore you worry about whether he's going to be healthy. Maybe it's preventative. I don't know. But Watson throwing in front of the team and in front of the training, in front of the media, is a good sign. I think it is news.
Yeah, a lot invested in Deshaun Watson, and with that financial commitment comes expectations that he largely hasn't lived up to yet will be important. The Browns had 11 wins and a playoff berth last year, despite rolling through 5 different quarterbacks. Their win total this year set at 8.5. Okay, the always friendly New York market media is blasting your boy Aaron Rodgers today after skipping mandatory minicamp with what head coach Robert Saleh told reporters yesterday was an inexcused absence. Throw this up there. The front page of the New York Daily News sports section reads, "Call him Aaron Dodgers." The New York Post went with the headline, "Full of hot air." News or noise?
Oh, this is definitely news. And what makes this so much news is there's no way Aaron Rodgers can be happy with basically being thrown under the bus by his head coach. I mean, let's be clear. This could be easily avoidable. Like, who's handling PR? Frank Luntz, where are you? The political PR machine. Get in there. Like, why do we have to have it call this inexcused absence? Unexcused absence. Why can't we just say, hey, Aaron had a personal matter. We fully support him. He had to take care of it. End of story. There's nothing to it. They sent him down the river. And, of course, Douglas, the general manager, he's running for the hills. He won't talk to anybody about Hassan Riddick or about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you talk about dysfunction, and do you actually think this isn't going to carry over onto the field? Look, here's what we do know about Rodgers. Rodgers was very concerned when he was in Green Bay because he didn't feel that LaFleur held the team accountable, right? He doesn't want to be the head coach. He wants somebody to be the head coach. And obviously, Saleh doesn't want to be the head coach. All he wants to do is be the rat in the building. Oh, well, Aaron didn't come to practice. I don't know what happened. Tell mommy. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? I mean, you're getting paid $8 million, $7 million a year, and you're throwing your hands up in the air? I just marvel at, like, who's advising this group of people in that building?
Michael, this is another instance where Robert Saleh drops the ball at the podium when he has a golden opportunity to make this a non-issue. The fact that he says this is inexcused and that Rodgers is subject to fines is the only reason that we're talking about this. Because if he would have just said, yes, it's mandatory minicamp, he had something that unfortunately was very important to him, but it's excused. He's been putting all of the time in during the voluntary off-season workouts. We know how invested he is in this team. This would have been squashed. This would have been nothing. Robert Saleh made this something, which is why we're talking about it and why I do think that it could be impactful. Okay, we'll move on. You mentioned it already, Daniel Jones. Well, Giants head coach Brian Daboll said Jones is right where he needs to be as he continues to recover from the torn ACL that ended his season last year. Is it news or noise to learn that Jones is not participating in any of these drills at minicamp?
I think it's news, right? I mean, I reported back when they brought Russell Wilson in. Of course, they weren't interested in a quarterback. They weren't interested in Drake Maye, even though after he got picked, they didn't try to trade up. Look, this Giant team, thank God for the Jets, because if people would look at this Giant team and how they practice, I mean, what they do. Look, here's the concern you have about Daniel Jones. Coming off an injury, what makes Daniel Jones the most effective he could be is when he runs around, when he runs with the ball. If he doesn't run, he's not a drop back in the pocket quarterback. I think this is news, and let me say this: if he can't move at all or he doesn't run well early in the season, oh boy, watch out. Look, I told somebody yesterday, can you imagine they're only a 0.5 point favorite against Carolina over in Germany?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is startling. Startling.
And Lord knows he needs a bounce back, Michael. 1-5 as a starter last year, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He was sacked 30 times and suffered a neck injury in addition to the ACL that ended his 2023 season.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, Stormy, I was working on this column that I got derailed because I had some issues come up. But the one thing that's amazing about Daniel Jones is, and I worked on this, and I wanted to read it to you today on the air, is Jones is 6-21 against teams that went on to make the playoffs. He's 0-11 against teams that went on to win at least 12 games.
Wow.
Think about that. He's the only quarterback with a current contract of $100 million in total value that has never recorded a season with either 3,500 yards passing or 25-plus touchdowns.
Startling. And again, he got paid for one good season. Season one total for the New York Giants this year, 6.5.
Average season. Can we scratch good and put it in average, please? Thank you.
Sure. But gets blown up. He gets paid. Dable's coach of the year, and look at how we're looking at it now. Another young quarterback. Well, Bo Nix is a minus 400 favorite to be the game one QB1 for the Denver Broncos, who drafted him number 12 overall. His head coach, Sean Payton, said he does not have a set date to name a starter. Quote, I would say I have an end date. That would be the week before the first game, but I don't have a set date. What's most important is to make the right decision. He later reiterated that while he doesn't have a deadline, he does have a gut feeling. With Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson also in the QB room, are Payton's comments news or noise?
Oh, this is news that Bo Nix is going to start. The betting market knows it. They've adjusted it accordingly. Unless there's an injury, it's Bo Nix's job. I mean, this is on with the Bo Nix program. I think there's no question that that's what Sean wants to do, and I think Sean has it completely in his mind to do that, and I think he'll be very comfortable doing that.
The question has just been risen because the trios rotated getting first-team reps during the offseason program. But as I said, Nix minus 400, Zach Wilson plus 450, Jarrett Stidham plus 650 to be the quarterback for that early season game. According to Patriots quarterback Jacoby Brissett, number 3 overall pick Drake Maye is progressing, quote, tremendously. He said every day he's getting better. He's making some nice throws out there, and you're seeing his progression come alive. Gerard Mayo also said he's been most impressed by Maye's ability to bounce back. News or noise in New England? Drake Maye progressing tremendously.
It's all noise. What does that mean? Progressing tremendous. What does it mean? Somebody tell me what that means. I have no idea. I'm progressing tremendously and be going to a fat farm. I mean, like, what does that mean? That you're eating it a lot? I mean, come on. I mean, progressing. Where are we progressing to? Mayo's already declared he doesn't want him to be the starter. All they're trying to do is pump it up. I mean, speaking of pumping it up, do you know tonight they're going to have the Brady thing? It's going to be you talk about a Robert Kraft enterprise tonight there at the stadium. Oh, I can't. Oh. This is going to be get me in the Hall of Fame time.
I love it. Starting quarterback odds on DraftKings for the Patriots. Interesting that Brissett is not as high as Bo Nix is for Denver. Brissett minus 260, Drake Maye plus 200 in that market. Let's hit one more here. Raheem Morris says he wants to get the ball to Bijan Robinson as much as he can. Said in the simplest form as you can possibly make it. Get the ball to Bijan as much as you can in as many ideal situations as you possibly can for him. He's so talented. You don't want to limit the things he can do. Also talked about the quote from Bijan comparing what he wants to do in terms of a Christian McCaffrey role and said if we can get anything close to that, we'll be doing just fine. What do you think? News or noise about Bijan?
I think it's noise. I mean, they have to get the ball to him. I mean, why is that shocking? I mean, really?
Because they did it last
surprise?
year, and fantasy managers like myself were crying so many tears last year. So I liked this. I thought this was news. I said, feed him so I can draft him.
If you think it's news, I'll give it news. But I fully expected them to go down this road. I mean, I don't see this as – I mean, now, Algiers going to probably have something to say about this. But, you know, look, I think he's got to make a really significant contribution in the passing game, which I think he definitely can. He's too good of a player not to.
It just bothered me so much last year when you had Arthur Smith saying, yeah, but what he does opens it up for so many other. But why don't you just give him the ball? Like, why are we giving the ball to Tyler Algier in short red zone situations instead of the guy that you know can get?
Because you didn't need to draft him. You could have drafted Jalen Carter and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
The defense is a conversation for another day because I know that's still the biggest sticking point for this Falcons team.